public hearing. Are there any cards? Great.
The first speaker is Gary Jones.
You have 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Thank you for allowing me to speak before this committee. I live on Townsend Road. The property that I own is, or actually my wife has a life estate. It will eventually come to me. It's been in my family since 1884. I've got handwritten deeds to the property to my ancestors since 1884, so I've got a vested interest in the property. And I am opposed to any changes that's going to create, additional traffic down our road. We have a short section of 30-foot wide road, then, another section of 15 foot, and then a piece going to the property in question is a dirt road. I don't know how fire trucks and rescue units are going to get back there, but I am opposed to any changes that's going to increase the traffic on our property or on our road, and I thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else, Ms. Brown? Great. 3 minutes and 10 seconds, please.
Jelena Edwards.
It's 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Hello.
Go ahead, ma'am. Who are you and where do you live, please?
I'm Jelena Edwards, and I live at 7501 Townsend Road. I want to go back to Mr. Folks. I was going to read what kind of, what he was talking about. However, he left out the part where the owner, the reason that they, decided not to give this variance was due to self-imposed hardship by the owner not subdividing their land with into adequate frontage, giving them adequate road frontage. So the owner has since passed away, but his surviving spouse still lives there. So with that being said, why can't she give up 15 more feet of her property to make 30 feet so that the road is wide enough? I have these handouts, and I'd like to show you that, how all the trash cans and all the recycle bins are right now. Our trash man and our recycle people have to back down the road as it is to be able to get out because they have no way to turn around. So if you would just take these packets and so that y'all could see, and he's got other stuff for y'all, but this will show you.
If you just leave it there, he'll get it. Give it for us.
So, if the owners created the self-imposed hardship by not subdividing the property correctly, they should have to fix it. That should be back on them.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
Great. Thank you very much. There's no questions for you. Thank you very much, Ms. Edwards. Anybody else, Ms. Brown?
Yes, we have one more speaker. Henderson Bory.
I've got my name's Henderson Bory. Appreciate that. The time y'all
Yeah,
give us.
lift the mic so we can hear
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah, bring it. You can bring it closer to you. There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Give me some time. My name's Henderson Bory. I live at 7501 Townsend Road. This is the road that we're looking at here. This road right here is a driveway. We already have one driveway down at that end of the road. Notice that hasn't been brought up. There's 3 dwellings on that road. This is the impact where they're tying into right here. Here's home. I've got that on page 2. You can look at that. This comes down here. This is a 30-foot, which we only use about 15 of it because everybody parks on this side. But let's get to the main point. This is a dead end right here because Overland Park has gotten that property back now. So we've only got 15 feet to the south of it now, and it comes down, which is letter F, and that's that post. We went E is the center, now it's moved to F, and then we have G. That would give us, G would give us another 15 feet which would move her property line back another 15 feet to the south. Now, she still owns a 10-acre tract there where this runs to the south. And she took two acres of it and put this house on it. The boys, so she's got property to move back to undo this unwilling act that's put on to us. If you look through there, just today, those recycle cans were all on my side of the road. They have to put them on my side of the road. You know, I can't do anything about that because the truck has to back up down there, and he only has one lift, and it's all on that side. It's all on my side of the road. They blocked my driveway. So, anyway, my point is they've got a diangle to her property. You can see that she has a diangle into her driveway right here. This is her gate. Pulls in right here. It's been cut off on my copy right there. I'm sorry, I apologize. But there's this right here is 16 feet from this road here. So if they move,
Sir, thank you very much. Thank you.
this,
Thank you.
they'll be able
Sir,
to drive
thank you.
through right here with
Thank
with
you very
30
much.
feet.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, through the chair to
Any questions?
Mr. Ferrer first.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Boyer. Let me follow what you're saying because I know you only have a limited amount of time. This section of that little triangle that you're pointing out that you're showing, what are you trying to say about that? Because I'm not getting what you're saying.
Okay, what it is, this is a driveway right here.
Okay, I follow
This
that.
this is another driveway they're trying to put in here. So the impact is we've already got 3 dwellings coming to this right here, where all the trash cans and everything's lined up on my side of the road and from
Just the
this-
triangle part below that you were talking about. What does that have to do? Because I missed what you were talking
Oh,
about.
this gate here, it goes into Miss Phelps's property that goes, in other words, this point here ties in her property to that corner. This here comes in, ties into her corner of that property. This road here comes in, ties into the corner of that property.
Okay,
So
thank you.
all 3 of those dwellings tie in to this right here. Her property, their property, and this property. Tie
Okay,
in right
thank you.
here. And then I'm on the other side of that, right there.
Great, thank
It's a
you.
really
Mr.
high
Mr.
impact
Backton?
on us.
Mr. Backton, you have a question for the gentleman?
I do. Thank you through the
Right.
chair. Sir, I'm looking at a picture that unfortunately it's not on your screen, but there's a chain link fence. Who does that belong to? What property?
Is that on the north side?
I'm looking at going down Townsend Road, and I see a wooded fence, in a chain link fence down my right side, which looks
Yes,
like
but
it
that-
dead ends into a wooded fence.
Okay, is that page 16 of y'all's stuff? I mean, page 6 of your stuff? Would that be right? It would be looking west on town?
Page,
Well,
not page 9. it
This
kinda-
was a photo, I guess, that was emailed to me separately, and I can't tell you by who. By who? Okay. But who? It looks like I'm in somebody's backyard, green grass, and there's a chain link fence. Do you know who that belongs to? Is that the property next to 7440, which is, I'm trying to get back to the,
This is on page 9 of
okay, I'm looking in is it 7440? Does that property have a chain link fence running down it? And then,
Oh,
so,
and the wooden fence. I have a picture of that right here on page 9. Is that what you're talking about?
Is the owner going to be speaking? Does she have a green card? I'll ask her if she comes up. Right.
There's no other cards? There's no other cards, Mr. Beckton?
Okay. She said it's the
All right, well, I'll
Phelps. Is that right, Yvonne? Does that mean anything to you?
Yes, I know the Phelps.
Okay, so what property is that? I'm trying to, these
Okay,
pictures,
that's the Phelps property, right. That comes in here. This is,
right, that's what I'm saying. That's looks to me like it's 7440 is the real estate number. So, and then that,
440 is down here.
okay, so that's 7420? 7420?
7442 is Miss Phelps' property. Now, she's the one who owns the 10 acres.
Okay,
Her
and you're,
property runs parallel to this, which is,
and what you're saying is that there's a right-of-way that runs between 7440 and, I'm looking at a property appraiser's map here that says 7420.
okay, there is a overview on one of these pages that I've got that gives you all these addresses.
And I'm
That you can,
running out of time here, and I need to,
they're all labeled right here on page 4 of the pamphlet I gave you. It's a,
I'm trying to get there. Okay, so see the 7420 right next to it where that has the slanted driveway? So that has a fence that goes down there. Who lives in 7420?
the Baylors.
Is that the owner?
The Baylors live there, but they rent all this now.
Okay, the lady mentioned that the owner still lives on one of these properties. Which properties does she live on?
The owner of the Baylor's property? Oh, you're talking about,
Maybe I need to talk
that's the
to,
one that's deep back here. That would
in the
be
very
Baylor.
back?
That would be a Baylor. That's a Baylor. This is a Williams company. This is Williams right here.
Okay,
Okay.
ma'am.
I'm not sure he's
about
got the
the
answers to the questions that
Okay, good
I
enough.
think I need to talk to to
Okay.
the previous speaker. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, sir. No one other questions. Ms. Brown?
Yes, next speaker, Ms. Pat Lord. Yes,
I think
she just gave a
card.
speaker card,
He
yeah.
just gave a card.
You know her?
Good evening. We need your name and address, please.
Tricia Mallard, 7140 Cypress Cove Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32244.
Great.
The property that you're asking about, where the chain link fence is, that is property, would be the south side of the 15-foot easement. It is owned by the Phelps.
Please be quiet, please. Go ahead,
The
ma'am.
photo that I believe y'all are looking at are the ones that I had sent around that shows driving in the 15-foot easement that we have. It appears over here that I am in somebody's backyard. It's only because of the 2 homeowners or 3 homeowners at Overland Park do not have a fence in their backyard. You can clearly see where the fences are and where Townsend Road apparently was closed. 15 feet was given to the town, to Overland Park, 15 feet stayed with the Phelps property. That 15 feet on the Phelps side is what I'm asking to drive down. Then from there, we have a 30-foot easement to get back to our property between all the 2 5s and or 8 acres.
Okay. There's no one on the queue. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Mr. Beckton.
Thank
And
you.
then Mr. Farrar.
Thank you through the chair. Okay, so this easement
Yes,
that runs behind the houses, that's 15 foot wide.
yes, sir.
The property that adjoins that with the chain link fence,
Yes, sir.
do they have any, that's not the owner who's sold you the property. I assume the owner lives in the property behind.
The owner that sold me the property is behind that. It is the son of the gentleman that passed away from the house in front of it.
Okay, is that the 7446 property?
I would be 7480.
And that's, I'm going based on the JPEG that you sent, that has the map, the residential properties, and you put in green 15-foot. Mr. Burrows wants to be
Right.
right away, and then you continue
Right.
in purple and say 15-foot right away.
Right.
And there's a 7420. Is that you?
No, sir, I would be, y'all are calling me 7480. And I would have to, and I know the JPEG you're talking about now, and I don't have it where I can
So
look
you're
at
the
it.
property in the very back.
I am at the very back.
Okay, who's
where
in front
that
of
wood
you?
fence-
Who's in front of you? I don't have a
the
north,
fence.
south, east,
Phelps.
and west here.
The Phelps.
Ms. Phelps. Ms. Phelps is 7420.
And who is Miss Phelps?
Ms. Phelps is the gentleman that used to own the whole 20 acres. His
So
wife.
she's the owner,
She owns that piece of property.
right?
But then
But
there's
she sold her the property.
No.
No,
Her son.
her sons acquired it through the will.
Right.
And they
No.
own, there's 15 more acres, and I think hers is 3
Excuse
acres,
me.
right?
No, excuse me. That land was granted to their sons years ago.
Yeah, that's right, you're right, that's right.
It was not in the will. It
Yeah,
was
that's right.
granted to them years ago. They were going to build on it. That's when the waiver was first, or whatever y'all used to call them, was first granted. And it belongs to their son, not to Mrs. Phelps.
All right, so once you get to past the chain link fence, you have to make a hard right, 90-degree
No,
right?
No, once you get past the chain link fence, you're in my you're sitting on my property.
Okay, but do you have to make a right? Because what it looks like on the first picture that you sent to us, it looks like there's a wooden fence at the
That
end of
wooden
this.
fence, that wooden fence is, my property's before that wooden
Right.
fence. That fence,
So you have to make a right into your property.
or if you continue the 15 feet, I will go directly onto my property. That,
Okay, because your
Chain link-
property extends to the backyards. I understand.
that chain link fence is way in the back. It's on the southwest side
Okay.
of my property. It's on the back side of my property. You're looking through my property to that wood fence.
Right, I understand that.
So to get to my property, I either drive straight in and my property's to my right, or I make a right to
Okay.
go onto my property.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Beckton. Mr. Ferraro?
Thank you through the chair to Ms. Mallard. This is the only way into your property, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Carter?
Now, my first question is, I've seen it on the map, and there's a 30-foot right-of-way from that 15 all the way back to and I need a clarification on this. How much property does Ms. Phelps have? 3 acres or 5 acres? I think.
She has, right now it is divided in 2.5, Mrs. Phelps. There's 7.5 acres.
7.5 behind it, and there's another
behind
5
that.
behind you.
My 5, and the other 5.
So there's a 30-foot right-of-way from this 15-foot to them 2 pieces of property. Now, I had some questions for Ms. Mallard. Did you know that I've been working on that other section of property on that road for almost 4 years, 3 to 4 years? And did
Know it
you know
now.
I was a council member at that time in that district?
Yes, sir.
And did you know that it changed in 2015?
I didn't, but I do now.
And Mr. Brown is the council member now, but we had property that I took over that he had been working on, and we had property that I'd been working on, and we kind of just let us, because we're pretty contact about things that's going on in our districts, because we're right side by side all the way. So it's nothing that Mr. Brown's avoiding to take any decisions, or I'm avoiding to take any decisions, but I've been working on a light pole on that piece of property and trying to find out, which I'm gonna call Mr. Hayes in up a minute and ask some questions. But did you know that I've been working on that all that time on that piece of property, trying to get that 30-foot right-of-way back like it was supposed to be originally?
I know it now. I did not know it at the
Okay,
time,
that's fine.
but I don't understand
And I know you
why
didn't, but
that has anything to do with me and my 15 feet that I'm asking. My 15 feet does not touch the 15 feet you're asking. that you're talking
Okay, well, I'll clarify that in a little bit. Thank you.
There is no one on the queue, so we will close. Ms. Brown, no one else? Good enough. We'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the committee. Mr. Carter.
Could I call Mr. Hazen up, please? Monroe?
Yeah,
You want to do that? I don't care.
let's go ahead and do that. We need to, I think Mr. Folks said number one does not need to be done, so we're going to move the conditions or anything like that?
That's good right there.
Okay, good enough. Okay, I need some action. Okay, good enough, so we need to do something.
Can I ask
Which
you a
is,
question before?
well, let's get in the proper tense, which means you either move the bill or you don't, so we can have a conversation.
We get information from him, though.
Let's go ahead and move, Go ahead, Mr. Monroe, come on down. Go. Well, but right now, there's no action, so there's no need to do anything if there's no,
Okay.
we're
My
not moving the
question
amendment or anything.
to start with, did we ever find out anything? Are we still doing a title search on the other 15-foot right away on the other side?
I'm Monroe Hazen with Public Works. We have not received anything back from title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I have a thing up here that I received. I don't know who I received it from. I think it actually was from you. And it shows, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it shows the part that's X'd is a part that's overland property. There was a 30-foot right-of-way there, and then overland, when the overland done that and done their property, they actually, I don't know, my other question would be, which I've never asked before, but was that right-of-way closed when overland done it?
No.
Could you put the pencil on there?
But they do have it fenced in on certain parts of it.
And it says on the plat of Overland Park
Yeah.
that those lots along there are still subject to that 15-foot right.
So on the lots of Overton, they're laid out on that 15-foot. So now the piece of property that we're still looking at to see, because the right-hand side's been given or was done what's supposed to be done, because what they've originally done with that road is one property owner gave 15 foot, the other property owner gave 15 foot. The right-hand side got filed like it's supposed to be. The left-hand side, we can't find anything where it's filed correctly, so we're doing a title search on it. So that's where we're at, Mr. Hazen, okay?
I don't believe that when you say the left-hand side,
Which is south side.
okay.
The south side is the part we're working on, and the north
I
side.
don't believe that there's ever been any legislation filed on that close.
I need you. So let me, well, it's right there, that's pretty good, that's good right there. Hold, don't do nothing. Okay. So as you come in from Ricker Road, you're coming down. Yeah, right there, thank you, Susan. But you're coming down this right here, and the 15 on the, this is north towards you, Al, Mr. Ferraro, and south is towards me.
Yep. Sorry, I'm making north up.
You're okay. You're making north and south.
Yep, north up.
Okay, so south is down and north is up.
Right, that's Miss Mallory.
Okay, so if you come, no, Miss Mallory's one, you take your finger one more step over, just over there, I think. But anyway, I'm just doing the road. I don't need to really see where Miss Mallory is or anything, but that 15 foot that's actually in question, where there's a light pole right out in the middle of that 15 foot, is what I was working on for the last probably 3 to 4 years, trying to get that moved out of the right of way and make that right of way 30 foot like it originally intended to be. So now with this property going up for sale and Miss Mallory buying it, what's happened is Overland's taking away to 15 foot on the north side, so it leaves 15 foot on the south side. So if this 15 foot that's on the south side of the road out here, which is out here, yeah, the 15 foot out here, where your finger runs up, then that would not be, if it comes back that it ain't been deeded and it's not the 30 foot right of way it's supposed to be, then the 15 foot right of way is on the other side of the road. So the 15 foot, Mr. Hazen, I'm gonna ask you if all that's correct at the end. So So, and I may be completely wrong. I'm just a,
No, they're supposed to be 15 feet.
but so the other side's
south
15
side of-
foot. So that 15 foot will come into where the overland used to be, and the other 15 foot is below that where the other 15 foot should have been. That's the question I've had all along, is how do we make all that tie up to make sure that Miss Mallard can get to her property in the right way. And we, I mean, I asked her too late. She didn't have time to go out and talk to Miss. God, I forgot her name,
Everything
Miss-
I've researched.
Miss, the lady that owns it, to see if she would, Miss Phelps, to see if she would do the other 15 foot. Because actually, in essence, there are going to be two more variances. I mean, this is going to come back to us again sometime or other in the future, to where we're going to have to deal with this same thing, and then you're going to have more homes and roads down there. The best thing would be is if Ms. Phelps would give the other 15 foot, and then she'll have the 40 foot right of way, and it'll all be neat, like it's supposed to be. But now, take away all that, now is everything I said kind of pretty much accurate?
I'm sorry.
Is everything I said is pretty much the way that lays out?
Yeah.
So that's the challenge I have with it, and
I mean, she's,
and have had with
at
it.
this point,
And
as
is- and-
everything that I've done in my research indicates she's got a 15-foot clear strip of right-of-way down to her property.
But the only issue I have is that those two don't line up. One's on the north and one's on the south. So I don't know how, I mean, like if, I don't know, it may not even be it, but I don't know how you get from one 15 to the other 15. Because if the one that we've been researching is not if we don't get that back towards the 15-foot right-of-way, then that would be where she'd drive down this 15-foot and then have to cross over to her 15-foot.
Well,
And there's also another road there that people's got to get to too. So I don't know how you do all that.
well, and you get into legal issues then, and I'm just a humble land surveyor. I'm not an attorney, but I can tell you that on the north side, that property has been under fence for a while, and it's not going to take much longer before people can start filing marketable record title and get that 15 feet through that particular.
So that's been my trying to not hurt anybody. I just happened to be working on the other part before this ever come about. So that's why I know a little bit about. I mean, I know a lot about it, more than I ever want to know about it. But that's been part of mine. So
Great.
whatever direction we goes, or is fine with me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carter. Mr. Monroe, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and do the ex parte before we go anywhere. So I'm sure Mr. Carter has ex parte somewhere. No?
I spoke to Mr. Borey like 3 or 4 times. A couple of times, probably a week and a half ago, and then once today and once Friday. I've spoken to Miss Mallard maybe twice. I spoke to her Saturday or Sunday. My old age is showing. And was it Friday? Well, see, I told you old age. And I spoke to her a little bit today. So
Thank you very much. There's no one else that's doing ex parte? Great. Okay, so now we have it back in the committee. And Mr. Ferraro.
Thank you. Through the chair to OCG or planning, we've got a lady who owns a piece of property, Miss Mallard, with only one way in, which is 15 feet.
Yes.
And we've got some neighbors that are saying that this is cutting into their property. I'm looking at these maps.
Let's do this. If no one's going to move the bill, there's no need to discuss it any further, Mr. Farrar. So if I don't get a motion to move in a second, we are just going to let it be gone. I'm not talking about the bill anymore if we're not going to, no one's on the committee that's going to move it. So we're going to move on.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
I'm
It's
trying
been-
to understand it.
But we're going to discuss the bill only if it's been moved and seconded, and we can always defer it, but I am not going to move forward on discussing the bill unless we have it moved and seconded.
Okay, I'll move the bill.
Okay, now you can ask the question.
Okay. Trying to make sure that we're doing the right thing here. Miss Mallard has a piece of property with a 15-foot easement that this is the only way that she can go to and from her property. So she's basically landlocked if she can't get to it. So then we have the other neighbors who are saying that their property is going to be going over in some way. On the city side, how are we in a posture of being able to help both, or help one, or protect the city?
Through the chair to the councilman, the word easement's been tossed about a good bit. Easements are used when you have access across someone else's private property. We don't have an easement here. Based on Mr. Monroe Hazen's research, we have a City of Jacksonville public right-of-way. It doesn't have a public road on it. It's never been improved to city standards, but it's city-owned right-of-way. And it's 30 feet for a good bit, and then it tapers, and then it remains, because 15 feet of it is in people's fenced backyard, but there's still another 15 feet that's on the southerly half. And that is city right-of-way. So they don't need an easement. They can simply maintain and use that right-of-way as their access point. But you're right, this is the only way that I can tell to get to and from the property. And if this is not granted, then she would not be able to improve the property with the residents.
Okay. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will move the bill so that, all right, then I'm going to be in the posture of allowing her to use this property if that's the case.
Thank you, Mr. Farrar. Mr. Beckton and Mr. Carter.
All right, thank you. The lady who spoke second, if you'd come up, please. I got a question for you.
Mrs. Edwards, I think.
Ms. Edwards, thank you very much. While she's coming up, Planning Department, I finally have got my bearings on this map. So what I'm understanding now, 7420 was the original part of the original property owner who sold Miss Mallard her property and has a chain link fence. In adjacent to that chain link fence is a 15-foot buffer. Is that correct?
Through the chair, very close. It's all been part of the same family that Ms. Mallard bought her property from, but the original person who I believe broke up the pieces of land is since deceased.
Okay.
But the family recipient of that is the one who sold to Ms. Mallard, if I understand correctly.
Understand. Okay. You made a statement that this was a self-imposed by the seller.
That's your,
Right. Huh?
that was on a paper that I pulled from your website.
Okay. So I guess, do you understand what you meant by that? Because I'm trying to understand it, and I want to ask you what you meant by that.
Okay, I need to get the,
Okay. And Planning Department. So Miss Mallard owns a very large piece of property, and right now she can subdivide that in the future. And you're saying no, and why would that be a no?
Through the chair, the property does not have access along a public road. They need the waiver so that they could put one house on this property. If they wanted to subdivide or put any additional residences on the house, they would have to come back to the city council and ask for that entitlement. Even though it's a large piece of land, and if it had proper access up on an open roadway, they could subdivide it. But as it is, we would not allow them to subdivide.
Okay. So
I pulled this off.
Ma'am, wait a second. He can ask you a question.
yeah, I did ask her a
Okay, I'm
question.
sorry.
I was just, while she
Okay,
was
good
getting
enough.
information,
Okay, good
going to
enough.
Planning Department. Go ahead, Ms. Edwards.
Okay, so I was just reading this paragraph
In the Planning Department's report,
in this report right here from June 6th.
what is she holding up, Planning Department?
It's a report of the Planning and Development Department application for waiver of minimum required road frontage from June 6th. And in there, it stated, I'll just read it to you. The subject property was approved by the Planning Commission for a reduction in road frontage from 80 feet to 0 feet in an application for a zoning variance in 1995. And then it gives you the number. Application waivers for road frontage did not exist at the time and were held via a zoning variance. That request was recommended for recommended for denial by the Planning and Development because it appeared that the owner of the property at that time had created a self-imposed hardship by subdividing their land without providing adequate road frontage to the subdivided parcels. The current owner of the subject site appears to have purchased the property earlier this February. I believe they were speaking of Ms. Mallard. Even though the final order for the 1995 variance states that the approval shall be transferable and shall run with the title up to the property, it also states that failure to exercise the variance within 1 year of the effective date of this order shall render the variance invalid. The property was not developed and the rights from the variance were terminated.
Yeah, I found it and actually
You
had
did?
that paragraph highlighted myself and,
Right,
and,
so,
and
so,
didn't know it.
I mean, I'm just taking
I
this to
understand.
believe, so now you understand why
Yeah.
I said that?
Yes, I do. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Appreciate
right.
you pointing that out. So planning department, as far as public safety, I mean, we kind of just went through this on a paved road. I mean, I look at that 15-foot right-of-way, and it's not even gravel. I mean, it's grass. There's no, one of these 5-inch rainstorms that we had 2 weeks ago, there's no way a fire truck's getting in there. So the liability of the city by granting this in public safety, I mean, does that not weigh on your decision in terms of, did it not weigh on y'all's decision in terms of this access and?
Through the chair, we certainly took that into consideration, and you've seen the photographs of what happens when garbage trucks cannot get down to access property and they have to back in, and then people bring their garbage out to a certain, certain point. We thought about all of that, and so we could have gone either way on this one. What really tilted it for us was that there was previously a variance that was granted, and this body never gets to see variances for the most part. They're handled by our planning commission. Variances have a very, very strict standard and are supposed to be very difficult to obtain by design, and it includes a caveat about, especially if the applicant has created their own self-imposed hardship. The waiver application doesn't include that it doesn't include that criteria, so that's why we relaxed a little bit this time, and because our denial previously was predicated on that language. Since a waiver doesn't have that criteria, we didn't go there.
So what was the variance previously approved?
It was identical. It was a variance to reduce road frontage from 80 feet to 0 feet. This is a waiver to reduce frontage from 80 feet to 0 feet. In the late
What's the difference?
As far as the relief that's granted, there's nothing. But as far as the criteria for review, there is a difference. And the waiver criteria is a little bit more relaxed than the variance criteria is. The city put the waivers on the books because they got tired of bending over backwards to find a way to grant variances they wanted to grant when there really wasn't sufficient criteria to do it.
So do they have a variance in force right now?
No, because they never commenced the variance that was granted back in '95, it died.
That's what she was reading.
Right, it expired. So, and if this body granted a waiver and she doesn't do anything with it in a year, it too would expire.
So how did this is a rhetorical question because I don't think you can probably answer it, but this High Bluff Road subdivision, when this was platted or planning department approved this, and I'm not sure if this was built 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or just the other day type of thing.
It's about 15 years old, I believe.
How in the world do we, not take into account that we have a city right-of-way, and that right-of-way is only 15 feet, and we see developable property around it, and we not fix it at that point?
I was confused at that too, because customarily a right-of-way is closed before plat goes over it. And we see that, for instance, we've seen it on Old Gainesville Road with Patriot Ridge and some of those others that have gone in out there.
Yeah.
They've come in and closed Old Gainesville Road. How they were able to get a plat approved with an existing city right-of-way underneath it, I have no idea.
My feeling is on this, obviously nobody wants to not give the owner their access to their property, but it's almost like if we denied this and sent it back and forced the seller to remedy this, the city and the area would be 100 times better, and we wouldn't be sitting here going through this unreasonable exercise for many different reasons.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beckton. Ms. Crandon, you wanted to say something, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to the committee. Mr. Hazen and I had a lot of discussions about this, and he looked at the plat for, it's called Overland Park, which is where the High Bluff Road North is. The plat actually shows on there that the bottom 15 feet, the southern 15 feet of all those lots is a city right-of-way. It's got an easement across it. They were not supposed to build fences there. She could take a private action, she could take them to court and make them move those fences. They are encroaching in the city right-of-way. The fences aren't supposed to be there. There's a 30-foot right-of-way that goes through. The picture that's in your book that was created by the planning department, this one, where it shows the T, it shows the right-of-way. Townsend Road, the right-of-way extends that same depth all the way along to the eastern end of her property. There's another easement that goes from there south to the south along her property. But she has 15 feet on her side of the section line, and this is something that happened in Jacksonville Heights, all over the place. The things were, the pieces of property were described all the way to the section line, and then the right-of-way line was the center line, the section line was the center line of the right-of-way. So she's got 15 feet on her side of the center line, and there's 15 feet on the other side of the center line, which is in the backyards of these people on High Bluff Road North. So there's still a 30-foot right-of-way. It was never improved, why it's not the public road, which is why we're even in this situation, but it goes to her property. There's a 30-foot wide right-of-way. There's people that built their fences where they shouldn't have, and that's the problem.
So yeah, I was talking to Ms. Grandin earlier. So Ms. Grandin, so you said she can sue. Who is she?
Ms. Mallard.
Okay, great, thank you. Because the fences where they lie now is in the right-of-way that the city owns. And if this, anyway, thank you, that's all. I'm not a lawyer. Thank you very much. Mr. Carter.
Mr. Chairman, may I point out that even if she is successful in suing the property owners, in order to put a house on here, she would still need the waiver.
Great, okay, thank you, Mr. Oxford. Mr. Carter?
When, I guess, when was, is there any record of when this was split up? I mean, like when this property was actually split into this 5-acre tract? Is there anything on anything that says that?
Through the chair, I don't know, but because of the year 1995 for the variance, it at least was
You would
that
say
old.
1995,
It's at least
yeah.
that old, yeah. But it is apparently not old enough to be a lot of record, because if it was, it would be exempt from the road frontage requirement.
And my question in there was that if we knew that, well, the thing is, if we knew that other 15 foot on Overland wasn't there, then when they, actually, when he split it up, we should have made sure we had a 30-foot right-of-way to that piece of property. It's what we should have done. And evidently, it's, I don't know when, where it had to be 99, 95 to 90, and 2000, 95 to 2003 was when Overland done, somewhere in that area was when Overland was done. So it had to be broke up somewhere in that area. So it's probably, I guess it was there before Overland come, the best I could figure. But anyway, that's why I was trying to look at it, because it seems like to me that we would have made Mr. I don't know why I can't remember his name, but whatever the property owner's name was, should have made a 30-foot right-of-way back to that property to be able to split it up, which he did do the 30-foot. He did do 30-foot north and south, but he didn't do 30-foot east and west.
Well, by 1995, this property was created in its current condition. It was in 1999 afterwards that Overland Park was rezoned so that they could put a subdivision there.
Okay. Can I ask Mr. Hazen one more question?
Have at it.
Mr. Monroe, can you come back up one more time? I mean, I really want to, I mean, I wish we had the 30-foot right-of-way. We'd be done 4 sessions ago.
We'll be home.
Now, have you ever had something similar to this happen with a development that actually took their lots all the way into the right-of-way?
Have I ever had?
Have you ever had this, like where a right-of-way was in and a development done their plots in that right-of-way?
You mean like the Overland Park?
Correct.
Oh, I'm sure that I could look on some plats and find several more. I mean, it's not unusual. One of them comes to mind right now, but it's
Well,
it's
just-
not,
it's amazing to me
it's not
that-
unusual for them to plat and leave these right-of-ways on there. I just reviewed one, matter of fact, with that same thing. It's up to the developer whether or not he wants to go through the process of closing the right-of-way or leave it on the plat. And
Okay, my major question right now is, was that right away closed?
no, sir.
Okay, okay. So that right away shouldn't be in, I mean, boy, what a mess.
Got a question? Just kidding. Okay, Mr. Beckton. For the
Thank
second
you
time.
through the chair. I'm trying to get there on this bill, but I'm at what point, planning department, at what point in time would these property owners or this property owner be required to have a 30-foot right-of-way and a paved or some kind of improved, well, if it's a city road, I mean, they would have to improve it for the city to be able to agree to take it over. It would have to be 30-foot curb and gutter to our standards and so forth. But at what point would they ever have to improve this roadway and make it 30 foot? What would trigger something like that, if anything?
They would have to do so if they trip the code of subdivision regulations by trying to put a subdivision in on here. Unfortunately, what's happened is it's been done piecemeal, and so when you come in one at a time, it doesn't trip anything. But that would certainly do it if a subdivision were to go in on one of these larger lots.
Is there, Ms. Grandin, maybe help me here, is there any condition that we could put on this for a future LUZ committee or council to, if this property were ever to be considered subdivided, that requirement would not get missed, and that, you know, we could say if ever subdivided, a condition, if it's ever subdivided, that a 30-foot right-of-way shall be established and improved?
Through the chair to Councilmember Beckton, like Mr. Huxford said before, in order for it to actually be subdivided properly, they would have to improve the road going there. We have an item that's going to come up last, I think, on our agenda, where we make sure we put a condition in that basically says here, the development of the entire acreage of the site shall be limited to no more than one single-family residence, and a document so stating, approved by the Office of General Counsel, shall be filed in the public records of Duval County. So we could do something like that similar here, just to make sure. It'd be kind of belt and suspenders, but at least it would be, we would be sure we could do that.
And that is what I want to do, because between now and then, I mean, I really do feel this is going to be subdivided at some point. I'd almost bet money. And Ms. Mallard, we need to put this in, you know, where she needs to get with those property owners with those fences and say, voluntarily, you need to move your fences to your property line over between now and whenever this subdivision occurs, if it ever occurs. But I gotta, like I said, I'm betting that it will occur sometime in the future. So I would like to, Chair, I would like to move an amendment to this bill to the, I don't know how to word it. I'm gonna let Ms. Grandin, the belt and suspenders of if this property is ever subdivided, that the road shall be a full 30-foot right-of-way, city right-of-way, and it must be improved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let me, folks, doesn't a right-of-way have to be longer than a 30-foot proper road?
Yes, sir. Normally, it would be a minimum of 50 feet.
Right.
In order to accomplish it, it might just be easier to say, shall be built to minimum city standards.
Okay. Then
Which would be 50 feet, correct? Not the 30, so they'd have to get another 20 feet someplace else.
And that's,
Right, but between now and then, the standard might change, and
Right,
you want to keep
okay,
it flexible.
okay.
and that's even, I like that even better. If I'll friendly,
Okay, no, go ahead and restate
Okay.
and then we'll do it again.
that if this property is ever subdivided, that it shall be brought up to minimum city standards.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
That access shall be brought up to current city standards.
And the access should be, what Mr. Huxford said.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and there's no one on the queue. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, yes, well, you walk your way over there. Ms. Grandin, you want to say a few words?
Yes,
A
thank
few
you.
words?
Yes. So to Councilmember Beckton, I just want to make sure I'm capturing your amendment correctly. You want them to file in the public records that they're going to have to do this. So what I just passed out is what the recommendations were for a bill that we're going to take up later, which is 417. So basically, instead of just saying one house is going to be allowed there now, what you want it to say is if it's ever subdivided, then the road has to be brought up to city standards. And you want something to be filed in the public records for whoever buys this property so that they will know that that's the condition.
May I respond?
Yes.
Through the chair, that's exactly what I said, I think.
And that's what was
And
seconded.
that's what was seconded. So, but you just restated it very eloquently.
Well, thank you. Maybe we should also have the second where it says B on here, the second thing. So part of requesting a final building inspection, they're going to have to show us proof that they have in fact put that in the public records.
Through the chair, I would like to add to my amendment B prior to requesting yada yada.
That's such a great idea, Mr. Beckton. It's been moved and seconded. Okay, we're going to roll them into one. Great. And so let's go ahead and we roll it into one. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Seeing none? Right. It's been moved and seconded. There's no one on the queue. Open the ballot and record your vote.
5 yeas, 1 nay.
By your action, you have approved 2017-314. We've taken care of 27-323. Item 10, 2017-343. That is deferred. It's open and continued, but it's still deferred. Turn to page 6. 2017-382, it's been open and continued, but it's deferred status, as is 383 and 416. Item 7, item 14, 2017-417, that's going to be moved to the end of the agenda. 2017-418 is deferred, as is 419. Item 18, page 8, 2017-420, 436, 443, are all deferred. Item 2017-444, we're going to do a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Application for rezoning ordinance 2017-444 is for property at 9216 First Avenue near Sutel Drive. The request has been filed by the city. This is a former healthcare clinic that's been closed for many years. We're surplusing it, and in order to put it on the market, it cannot stay in the PBF1 zoning district. So the city is asking to rezone it to the RLD 60 zoning district. We believe that's appropriate given that the surrounding neighborhood is also zoned RLD 60. With that, we forwarded to the Planning Commission a recommendation to approve, of course. And at the Planning Commission's last meeting, they unanimously recommended to you to approve with no discussion.
Okay, great. No questions to you. Before go to any further, 2017-418 we'll come back to. Okay, no questions for staff. We're going to ex parte. Anybody has any ex parte? Seeing none, we're going to open the public hearing. Do we have any cards on 444? Or 44? Okay, having none, we're going to open the public hearing, close it. It's been moved and seconded. No one on the queue. Open the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have approved 444. Let's go back to page 7. I've been notified that they're actually, 444 is passed, but item 15, 2017-418, we have speaker cards, but there's no public hearing on it. Right? Yeah, but we don't have a public hearing. Okay, good enough. I just wanted to make sure, okay. Right? 418? We don't have a public hearing. We got a big agenda, so we're just moving forward. Page 9, 2017-445. We do have some cards, but let's go to staff, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is application for planning and development ordinance 2017-445, seeks to rezone approximately 1.3 acres from CCG1 to PUD. The rezoning is being sought to permit a gasoline filling station with convenience sales, including a fast food restaurant with drive-through and outdoor seating, while also restricting uses typically found in the CCG-1 zoning district. The PUD also requests a larger signage than would be afforded to the parcel based on the specific dimensions as created. Staff has reviewed this. The adjacent and surrounding parcels are utilized for various intensive commercial activities, including outlet stores, shopping centers, banks, fast food restaurants, and institutional uses. All the surrounding land uses and zoning designations on adjacent properties are CGC and the CCG-1. Staff has reviewed this application, finds it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. This is in the CGC land use category, which does allow for the permitted uses. The intent of this development is to permit infill along an existing intensive commercial corridor. Due to the limited amount of frontage, the necessary signage could not be obtained under a conventional zoning district. This nominal relief is traded for the development, promoting the redevelopment and reinvestment in an area of limited potential for use. Although staff is recommending that the one sign on Normandy Boulevard not to exceed 100 square feet in area and 30 feet in height. With that, the staff recommends approval, subject to the 3 exhibits and the 1 condition. At the last Planning Commission meeting, there was no one to speak in opposition. The agent indicated he needed a larger sign due to the speed of traffic along Normandy Boulevard. And so the commissioners recommended, unanimous recommendation to you of approval with the original legal description, the revised written description, and the original site plan, and the 5 conditions with the change in condition 1 is that there shall be one sign on Normandy Boulevard not to exceed 160 square feet in area and 30 feet in height.
Great. We don't have any questions for you, so, okay, Mr. Beckton.
Thank you, through the chair. Mr. Lewis, is the signage, is it my memory that the sign height, normal sign height is 25 feet?
Actually, the standard sign height is 50 feet.
So what are they asking for?
They're asking for a sign of 30 feet in height and I believe is 158 square feet in area.
So what's bigger on this? The total square feet?
They don't have enough frontage for they don't have 158 square linear feet of frontage to do that sign. I believe it's, I don't have it. I think it is around, I think it's less than 100 square feet, 100 linear feet along there. So they are asking for, like I said, a larger sign based on the linear feet that they have on Normandy.
Okay, so it's really a waiver or an exception for the amount of frontage they have, not so much that the sign's going to be, if they had the right frontage, the sign would be appropriate.
That is correct.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much.
Great. Bruce, would you go ahead and read the conditions in there? Because eventually we're going to have to do that anyway, if you don't mind. The 5 conditions with the change to 160.
Condition 1 would be there shall be one sign on Normandy Boulevard not to exceed 160 square feet in area and 30 feet in height. 2, all sag lenses, drop lenses, and convex lenses shall be prohibited. Illumination levels at all property lines shall not exceed a ½ foot candle when the building or parking areas are located adjacent to residential areas and shall not exceed 1 foot candle when abutting other non-residential properties. All lighting lamp sources within parking and pedestrian areas shall be metal halide, compact fluorescent, or LED. The maximum light pole height in all parking areas should not exceed 30 feet. An exterior lighting design plan, including a photometrics plan, pole and fixture schedules, shall be submitted at the time of verification of substantial compliance for review and approval by the Planning and Development Department. 3, the developer shall mount the light fixtures on canopies so that the lens cover is recessed or flush with the bottom surface of the canopy. 4, new construction shall comply with Chapter 656, Part 12, Landscape and Tree Protection Regulations of the Zoning Code. 5, prior to requesting a final building inspection or occupying the facility in any manner, the owner, applicant, or developer shall submit to the Planning Department separate certification letters confirming that all horizontal and vertical components of the development have been substantially completed and all conditions to the development order have been satisfied. This condition shall apply to both phased and non-phased developments.
Great, thank you very much. There's no question to staff. Oh, Mr. Farrar. Okay. We're open to public hearing. We have a couple cards.
The first speaker is Charles Mann.
Hey, Charles.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Charles Mann, 165 Arlington Road, representing Andy Patel and Quickway convenience stores. Mr. Patel has bought this piece of property. It's an out parcel in an old shopping center parking lot. The shopping center was purchased by a church. They have found a necessity to sell off some of this property, again, to raise funds. Mr. Patel has bought this piece of property. If you'll look at page 9 of your staff report, you'll see an aerial that shows this site superimposed over the aerial, and you'll see a hiatus piece of property between Normandy Boulevard and the actual location of the site. This has actually cut us off from Normandy Boulevard as far as exposure, visibility, etc. And it was pointed out by the staff that this, or I believe Mr. Beckton mentioned it, that this was was a sign waiver or a sign exception. There was a dual purpose in doing this as a PUD. The church had an agreement with Mr. Patel that certain uses at the convenience store site would not be allowed, such as adult entertainment, full sale of all alcohol beverages, such items as that, a pawn shop, uses like this that would be offensive to the church and the congregation. And this was a way of assuring the congregation those uses would not take place at this site. But there is a necessity. Secondary use is the sign. That is a necessity at this location. This is redevelopment. There needs to be a trade-off. The worst thing that can happen in redevelopment is for it to fail. And the two keys of retail is you've got to tell the public what you're doing and how to get to you. And without that, this is going to be a failure. If you look along Normandy Boulevard, you'll see signage up and down there. Across the street from us, there's a racetrack gas station. They've got a 600-plus square foot sign. You can see that on page 11 of the staff report. If you look closer at that, our closest neighbor, the insurance company that is between our property and Normandy Boulevard, has a sign much wider and much larger than ours. If you look further into the picture, you can see up and down Normandy Boulevard that there is more signage and more signage. We need the additional signage to compete. I'm going to ask Mr. Hertzberg to step up as a witness, a professional witness, and testify to some information that is in an American Professional Land Planners Association, a study that where they contrasted car speeds and sign sides and the ability to read and digest the information that are on this. With that, I'm going to ask Mr. Hertzberg to come up and speak. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Mann. Mr. Hertzberg, I know you're on the cards. You got 3 minutes and 10. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'll be brief. As noted in the staff report, I believe the staff does recognize this is a heavily commercialized corridor. The site is within an intensive commercial node, again, in the staff report, greater than 100 acres in area. So this is a very large commercial area and commercial corridor, as stated. The report even goes so far as to indicate that due to the limited amount of frontage, the necessary signage could not be obtained. And it goes on to say that this nominal relief is traded for the development, promoting redevelopment and reinvestment in the area. To the Councilman Beckton's credit there, yes, sir, the allowable sign would have been 50 feet tall. So even if the condition were to be imposed, typically they could have done a 50-foot tall sign. And really, in this case and in this corridor, that sign height is probably a bigger problem than anything else. So I think what you're seeing here is, in effect, a trade-off to say, let's bring the sign down 20 feet from its allowable height, but allow some increase in sign area, especially with gas stations, so that the message can be given, or the allowable message can be given. In my opinion, the 100 square feet that's offered by the planning department is arbitrary at best. I had submitted at the planning commission, and I apologize, I don't have adequate copies, but I do have, and it is a part of the record, this exhibit, which the American Planning Association has actually done an analysis requiring what is called an 8-second viewing time. And I believe you're familiar with some of that from billboards and signage in the city of Jacksonville and the legislation therein. However, what's I think important to note here is that the posted speed limit along this segment of Normandy is about 45 miles per hour. And if you follow the pattern that the American Planning Association is calling for, what it dictates is that the appropriate sign size here would be 162 square feet. So what the applicant is requesting is actually less than what even my profession, the American Planning Association, would call the average sign size necessary to achieve the 8-second readability, especially in a congested area, as staff has noted in their staff report that this is, and at the speed of 45 miles an hour traveling along that corridor. As Mr. Mann said, the racetrack that uses the billboard sign is about 672 square feet across the street. I also looked at other sign sizes for gasoline stations, and the industry average seems to be right around the 150 square feet. If there are some Shells and BPs in the area that I did do the analysis on those using the City of Jacksonville's permit data. I'd be happy to answer any questions that there might be.
Hey, Mr. Hart, before we go any further, just tell us your name and address, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know better.
42 Cape Hatteras Drive, Ponte Vedra, Florida, 32081.
Great, thank you. There's no on the queue for either you or Mr. Mann. So there's no other cards, so we'll close the public hearing and bring it back. No, we got to do the amendments that Mr. Lewis indicated. Great, and it's moved and seconded. Mr. Farrar, are you on the amendments? Okay, I'm sorry, you're exactly right. Let's do ex parte before we go any further.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today I spoke with Charlie Mann at the agenda meeting just beforehand on this, and we spoke basically what they just said about the signs, how they needed to be a little bit larger, and that's all we talked about. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Mr. Carter?
I spoke to Mr. Mann today around 11 o'clock about the sign and size of the sign and where it's going to be at, and that's it.
Great. I had a brief conversation with Mr. Mann that he indicated that Mr. Hirschberg would also be talking about this project going forward. Mr. Huxford, please.
Yes, sir. I too had a conversation with Mr. Herzberg, but I don't have to declare it. Just on the first condition where we talk about there should be one sign on Normandy Boulevard, can we clarify that that is one ground sign? I don't want it to be thought that that counts against his wall signage that he gets. So
okay.
Just identify it as there should be a maximum of one ground sign on Normandy Boulevard, so forth.
Great. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Okay, great. Mr. Carter? We're on the amendment now. Since we've done ex parte, now we're on the amendment with the conditions. Okay, good.
I have a question to whichever one, Charlie or Mike, either one.
Yes.
Just as a matter of record, I'll agree to add that language to the amendment.
Okay. Okay, let's do this. He's asking a question. We'll come back to that. Thank you, Annie. Go ahead.
Now, this sign is behind the gray and gray sign.
Yes, sir. In the handout that was given to you when
I'm looking at it right now. I just want to make sure.
There's an east and a west view of that, and it shows the positioning of our sign in relationship to the gray and gray sign.
Go ahead. Let's start that over again.
I'm sorry. It was my problem.
Usually that's me.
My children.
No, the handout that was given to y'all when I first started to speak, there is an east and a west view of our sign in relationship to the gray and gray sign. It's the same thing that we've showed the people at gray and gray, that we would not be blocking their sign. That's the reason why we wanted the pole sign that would be taller and slender than the existing signs that is there for gray and gray.
The one I'm looking at is a mobile, whether it's mobile or whatever it is, with the Dunkin' Donuts and the how much gas is. And
Yes,
that'll be
sir.
just one pylon?
Yes, sir.
That'll just be one pylon?
Yes, sir, and again,
And
that's
that's,
the,
that's
the-
160 square foot if you measure that whole thing right there?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Let's go back. Mr. Huxford, would you restate what the modification of the amendment conditions are, please?
Yes, sir. Condition number 1 would read, there shall be a maximum of 1 ground sign on Normandy Boulevard not to exceed 160 square feet in area and 30 feet in height.
Right. And that's what you proposed, Mr. Beckton?
That is, it sounds exactly what I said.
Yeah. Do we have a second? Yeah, it's moved and seconded. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Opposed? It's been moved and seconded. Open the queue and record your vote.
68, 0 nays.
Great. By your action, you have approved 2017-445. Item 22. Hey, thank you very much, guys. 2017-446. Staff report, please. Any ex parte? We'll do it a little bit better, differently. Any ex parte? See none, go staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I start, you should have a revised written description in front of you. This is called the Old Spanish Trail. Just want to let you aware of that.
Exhibit D on the
Yes, sir.
top.
This written description has removed several of the commercial uses that were in the original application. They have also reduced the maximum height from 60 feet down to 45 feet, which is close to the existing building that's there on site, and also set a maximum lot coverage of 20% for this development. This is application for planned unit development 2017-446. Seeks to rezone approximately 2.1 acres of land from CCG1 and AGR to PUD. The rezoning is being sought so the property can be developed with a single-family residential dwelling in the existing structure and commercial recreational facilities on the remaining property. Specifically, there will be 3 paintball fields. A Christmas village or haunted house theme is also anticipated. It is estimated the structure was originally constructed in the 1800s with several additions over the decades. Purported uses included a way station, general store, inn, boarding house, and an antique store. Staff has reviewed this application. This is in the CGC land use category, and those uses that are proposed in the PUD are permitted in the CGC land use category. Also, the land use category does have a restriction on residential units that they are only on that they are prohibited on the first floor, and the residential unit in this building is actually on the second, so it does meet that criteria of the land use category. With the written description and the site plan in there, we feel that there are significant restrictions on this, and we feel it's appropriate for the area. Staff is recommending approval with the 3 exhibits. At the last Planning Commission meeting, there was no one to speak in opposition, and they forwarded to you a unanimous recommendation to approve. So it would be with the original legal description dated May 5th, 2017, the revised written description dated August 15th, 2017, and the original site plan dated April 18th, 2017.
Great. There's no one on the queue. Okay, wait a second. Whoa, we got to do public hearing. But first, wait a second. I know as much as you'd like to be, okay. We're going to open public hearing. Do we have any speakers? No, we're going to close the public hearing. Now we can go. Move the amendment. It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. What?
What is the amendment?
It's the change of the exhibit.
There's a note here where it says amendment to revise the title. So I'm trying to figure out what that means. Jessica, do you know what that is? Right. I am sorry. I'm trying to. I can't get my machine to work. It's frozen. There's something. Can you get your email up, Jessica? I'm sorry.
When did you send it out, Susan?
Oh, a long time ago, I think, when we noticed the. Yeah.
Before I turned older. But she says that the amendment to revise the title.
Yep. Amendment to revise the title. There was something in the title Charlie, do you have any idea what it would be? Let me see if the RE number is the same. 175. I think the RE number's different. That's what the problem is. The RE number on the title says 0050, and it should be 0030.
Is that correct? And I want to move an amendment if it's incorrect. You mean if it is, we can maybe correct it at council. Are we ready to roll?
Yeah. I am sorry.
Okay, let's do this. We're going to put it in. Well, I'm just going to table while you're looking at it so we can get some things done.
Okay.
You will look it up while we move forward. Okay, page 10, 23, 2017 451 is open and continued to September 6. 24, 2017 452 is open and continued to September 6th. We already dealt with 25. 26 is open and continued. I don't have a date on that. Open to continue to what, September 6th? Oh, I'm sorry, it's going to be planning deferred. 2017 476, 477, 478, and 479 are all deferred. Page 12, 2017 480, 81, 82, 83 are all deferred. On page 13, 2017 484, 85, 86, 87 are all deferred. Second. Page 14, 2017 488, 89, 90, and 91 are all deferred. Page 15, 2017 492, 93, 94, and 95 are all deferred. Item 16, 2017 496, 97, 98, 99 are all deferred. On page 17, 2017 554, 55, 56, 57, and 58 are all seconded. Turn to the last page, page 18, 2017 559, 60, 61, 62, and 78, 578 are all seconded. So let's go back to where we were. Did you find what you needed to do? 475? 475, 475?
Right,
Page
it was the
9.
RE number.
Huh? Okay, you got what you need. Wait a second. On page 4, I don't have 475 on that page. 475. Where is 475? What the? Oh, I'm sorry. It's page 10. Okay, on 2017, 475 is open and close the public hearing, and now we're deferring it. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to Ms. Brandon. What number? Let's go back to 2017 445. No, wait a second. Which one? I'm sorry.
446.
446, right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it was the RE number that was incorrect, so in the bill itself, I have to change it in a couple of places. It should be 001735-0030, and our bill says 50. We must have misread the handwriting.
Okay, good enough. So somebody move the bill with the correction. Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Okay, open the ballot and record your vote.
68, 0 nays.
By your action, you have approved 2017 446. So let's backtrack to, I think we've covered all but one. 2017 417. Hey, guys, I think that we're dealing with your bill now. Huh? Which one are we doing? 446. No, we just passed that. We put one to the end of the agenda, which was 417. I said 2017 417. Okay, great. We have a staff report. Hey, guys, aren't you 417? Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, you guys were. Okay, good. 417.
All right. Before I start, Mr. Chairman, again, you should have a handout, a separate handout. It has on the top 2017-417. This is the revised site plan. dated August 11th, 2017, received from the applicant. This is application for planned unit development 2017-417, seeks to rezone approximately 7.4 acres from AGR to PUD. The rezoning is being sought so the purpose of transferring development rights from a lot of record to anywhere on the parcels included within the PUD. Applicant is proposing to construct one single-family residence. As the PUD is written, it is inconsistent with the AGR land use category. The PUD written description of lot requirements does not address the lot of record limitation and the ability to use the lot of record status to transfer the development rights of one single-family dwelling to another within the 7.4 acre parcel. Rather, the minimum lot requirements as stated in the written description allows for a minimum lot area of 2.5 acres, which would result in the potential development of two single-family dwellings. So staff is recommending that a condition be added to the approval that the development is limited to no more than one dwelling unit for the entire 7.4 acre site. With that, staff finds that with the written description and site plan, it is consistent with the internal and external compatibility, and the department is recommending approval with the 3 exhibits and the 2 conditions. At the last Planning Commission meeting, there was no one to speak in opposition, and the commission forwarded to you a unanimous recommendation to approve with the 3 exhibits and the 2 conditions. It is now the original legal description dated May 23rd, 2017, the original written description dated April 11th, 2017, the revised site plan dated August 11th, 2017, and the 2 conditions, which
Go ahead and read
are
them.
the development of the entire 7.46 acre site shall be limited to no more than one single-family residence, and a document so stating, approved by the Office of General Counsel, shall be filed in the public records of Duval County. And 2, prior to requesting a final building inspection or occupying the facility in any manner, the developer or owner shall submit to the planning department a copy of the recorded restriction placed on the property regarding the limitation to the development of only one single-family residence.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, let's go, wait a second, let's do ex parte. I assume that's what you're doing, Mr. Ferrer, go ahead. Anybody else that has ex parte, put on the queue, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I spoke with Robert Lancaster on the phone Wednesday on 8/9/17, and we spoke a little bit about the different parts of the lots. Also had 5 emails, and all that has been forwarded to Legislative Services. Thank you.
Great. No one else? Okay, he did call me. He called my actual aide and was rude. He called me, and I barely had a chance to say anything. This is Mr. Lancaster. And he verbally was not as kind as I would hope. But be it as it may, he opined about what his position was. And shortly thereafter, I told him that maybe he should be kinder, and he can call me back at another time if he was more polite. I also make the comment that I wish that, I don't think Mr. Lancaster's here, is he? You are there? Good. I'm glad you're here. Please do not be respectful of the staff going forward. And if I were you, I would apologize to, you don't have to do anything. I would apologize to Mr. Huxford. But that's not a condition going forward. So, no one else on the ex parte. Let's do we're going to open a public hearing. Are there any speakers? Great. We're going to close the public hearing. Bring it back to committee. We've got to do let's do the conditions first. You want to, okay, we need to do the exhibits because they've been changed, and then we have 2 additional conditions. Well, seeing no action, well, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Ferrara.
No, I had my button, I'm sorry. I wanted to move the bill with the conditions that were read, if that was everything that we had.
No, we have to move the conditions first before we
Okay,
move the
conditions
conditions.
for the bill.
Right. Right. The ones
Yes,
were
can we
were read by Mr.
Yeah,
Lewis.
Yes,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Been moved and seconded. Mr. Beckton?
Thank you, through the chair. So we've been on this bill a couple of cycles. So what have we accomplished from, I guess, in summation? What's the heart of where we're at that's been accomplished here?
Through the chair to Councilman Beckton, we now have a site plan that marries up to the survey and legal description, and with a proper identification of where the residence will be, and with an understanding that with this transfer of development rights, there are no expectations of additional entitlements or additional residences on the property.
Okay. Was there anything else that, I know there was an issue about the dock. Did that get resolved?
Yes, sir, it got resolved, and I believe it has been removed from the site plan as well.
All right. Thank you very much for that summation.
Right, thank you. I think at the staff, I think that we were unclear about what the site plan originally had and to understand it. Is that correct? And until you had a great understanding, the staff, we were not going to move forward on anything. Is that how I understand it?
As I recall, as you know, I wasn't at the last meeting, but Mr. Lancaster came and met with us last week after getting with his surveyor and has submitted to us revised documentation that we believe meets what we were concerned about.
Great. Okay, open the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have approved 2017-417. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's the end, but, well, oh my gosh, that's that lawyer again. Okay. Yeah. Okay, who is this? Okay. Okay, okay, what we're going to do, on 446, they're going to have to make some changes. We're going to have to amend that before it actually goes to council, and Ms. Grandin will make the proper corrections on a new amendment to clarify the actual correct real estate number. Is that correct, Ms. Grandin? On 446?
Here,
Wait a second. Go ahead, Ms. Grandin.
what I read into the record for the RE number was incorrect, so I still don't know what's wrong with the title. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to do a floor amendment. I really hate to put you through that, but I don't know what the problem is with the title, but I know that the number that I read, the RE number that I read into the record that you guys made as part of your amendment was wrong.
Okay, we'll make the correction on council night, do a floor amendment to make sure at least the LUZ will understand what we're doing. So if anybody asks a question what we're doing, we will be knowledgeable about what's going on. Mr. Huxford?
Thank you.
I like this button. I just discovered that. So,
you're playing with it.
I had a conversation with with Vice President Bowman after our agenda meeting. We have received a written request for withdrawal of item number 3, 2016-576. He doesn't object to it being withdrawn. We don't necessarily have to do it tonight since we've already gone through the agenda, but either at council or at our next LUZ meeting, we would probably want to go ahead and proceed with the withdrawal. They have alternative plans of development using their existing entitlements, and so the rezoning is no longer needed.
Well, okay, wait a second. Let's go back. I already put it out. What number was it, Mr.?
Item number 3.
Wait a second. Let's get everybody go to page.
Page 2.
Page 2, item 3, which is 20. Okay, let's do this. Do you want to do a staff report or just do not?
We had a staff report recommending denial because we felt that it was inconsistent with the pattern of development in the area. We forwarded that. The Planning Commission recommended approval, but there were some issues. I know Councilman Bowman did have some community meetings. There was some opposition in the neighborhood. It kind of languished, and the developer has since decided to walk away from the proposal and develop as entitled.
Great. Now, do we can open and
we are
close the
not, we are
public
not
hearing?
looking for a refund either. No refund either.
Okay, great. Mr. Ferraro, are you going to talk about this? Okay, great. So we're going to open and close the public hearing. There's no speakers. It's been moved and seconded to withdraw the bill on 2016-576. Open the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By action, you have withdrawn 2016-576. Thank you very much. But you must have gotten an email from Agenda to Now on that?
Through the chair, I received an email communication from the agent for the developer, and I had forgotten to bring it to our attention at the committee meeting, and I spoke with Councilman Bowman after the agenda. And then we went into the agenda so fast I missed it earlier today.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure that the agenda is supposed to make sure we have all the amendments and everything ready to roll going forward. So if we can make sure that we are a little bit clearer at the agenda before we come to the actual committee, that would be great. Mr. Ferraro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is to planning and OCG. I really wanted to bring this up. I'm asking for this also in transportation, energy, and utilities. With the 2030 comp plan that's going through, a lot of times we're having new neighborhoods that are going in next door or right against our old neighborhoods. And we're having to raise the property heights up of the new neighborhoods. What this is doing is it's flooding out some of our roads and streets, and it's also flooding out some of our established neighborhoods. I've got enormous amounts of problems like this going in my district. I'm assuming that it will probably be a problem in other districts. So I'm going to be reaching out to planning and OCG to try to come up with some things that we can do to help alleviate these problems as we move forward. A lot of times when we have new neighborhoods that we're reaching out to, that we're having these community meetings, it's been a problem. I know I've talked with Susan, you've been very helpful to me about it, but I would like to see if there's some other way that we can fix this problem other than just going through one plan. So I'm going to be reaching out to the planning and see what we can talk about for TEU, particularly streets and roads, but I would like to continue this into neighborhoods out here as well. So, thank you.
Ms. Reed?
Thank you. Through the chair, to Councilman Ferraro, and in response to the last LUZ meeting that we had, that you all discussed that, the department is working on putting together a white paper on the floodplain management ordinance and the related comprehensive plan policies. Mike Sands is key to that discussion, and he was on vacation last week, so it was a little difficult to put that all together, but we are working on it.
Thank you very much.
Great. I would be, that's all. Ms. Mitchell, wait just a second, Vaughn. I want to thank the Sheriff's Department for being here and making sure that everything ran smoothly. So thank you very much, Ken and Christian and the other person that was hidden. Yes, Vaughn.
I just have a clarification for your report on Tuesday. For 446, it's amend approve with a floor amendment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing none, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.